Hi everyone, this is a video to supplement the animation unit for doing the robot animation exercise. I'm going to walk you through downloading the resources, seeing what's available in terms of the project description, a supporting PDF to walk you through it, and then I'm going to demonstrate it here just in case there's anything that could be slightly missed in the PDF version. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a composition in After Effects where we're going to animate two robots that are made in Photoshop. Actually, we'll animate one, and I'll ask that you animate the other in a similar way, just to reinforce what we did to the first robot. So I'm going to go to 266 and go to Animation Details. And then let's take a look here. We've got an animation overview lecture that I will talk a little bit about in class, but I'd like you to, just because of our shortened time this week, I'd like you to look through all the animation samples. And there's some really fun stuff in here. It covers sort of an animation history of some of the first um, experiences or examples of movement over time in video or in film, and just through different modes of and mediums of animation. There's a link here to a book if you are very interested in animation, or if that's your major and you're really interested in character animation. This is a great book called The Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams, and there's a link here. And I really recommend that. A lot of animators that I worked with use that as a part of their core traditional training to help them in any medium that they were working in. There's lots of different programs in animation. You can work in Toon Boom, in Flash, in After Effects, Motion. If you're in 3D, right, you can work in Maya, 3ds Studio Max, or Blender. So depending on whether it's 2D or 3D, you're going to have software that's native to that. And there's a lot of different stuff out there. Flash is still a really great animation program, even though its use on mobile devices isn't supported anymore, and not a good idea to do your animations in that if it's going to be on an iPad um, or want to view it on a phone. But there actually are workarounds to that. You can build it in Flash and use a way you can export it in a certain way that it'll be kind of like exported almost into JavaScript or into code. But the After Effects is traditionally used for compositing, and that's why it was good for shows such as Blue's Clues that used a mixture of footage and animation behind it. You could take a look at the Edward Muybridge film, which was sort of the first capture of photographs. They were actually looking at to see whether or not the feet of the horse left the ground, and there's a really interesting story behind that. First animation, if you look at 5 minutes into a trip to the moon, you'll see sort of the first special effect going on. Gertie the dinosaur was the first somewhat character animation where it was sort of used in a humorous way. And the first Disney or the first animated film with sound was Steamboat Willie. And I just go into different types of animation like stop motion. There are different concepts. This is a really great video in one of these links. I believe it's probably that one there, the last one. Paranorman example, brick films is when you animate Legos essentially. Then we talk about 2D, traditional Disney classics, some flash samples there, visual effects with motion, and I've got some examples here of some videos, sort of almost like tutorial videos on YouTube to show you a little bit of what you can do with credit animation. This motion one, I believe it sort of tries to create a credit effect used in The Walking Dead. Different compositing techniques in there. And there's 3D, and these are some really great videos behind the scenes in Pixar. And then there's motion capture and performance capture, and some of the difference between those two, and some movies that contain those. Okay, so please look through those links, get a sense of the overview of animation. Then we also have lecture notes that walk you through the robot exercise, what I'm going to do in this video. You have the PSD and JPEG files for the robot exercise, and then there's this huge After Effects reference if you just want to check it out and learn more about After Effects. And then these are the assignment details there for your group animation project. But tonight we'll just focus on the robot animation. So I'm going to load this PDF. I'm not going to follow it that closely because I'm going to be demonstrating what I'm asking you to do in it, but I'll just have it up as a reference in case we need it. It's 45 pages, so it's pretty detailed. I've actually done some edits tonight that this will probably be about almost closer to 50 pages, just to update and put in some slides that add a little more clarity to certain steps. So I'm going to open up After Effects. And while that is opening, I'm going to download the resources that we use. So the PSD and JPEG files, and it's very simple. There's just one JPEG and two PSD files. And we've got robots, zip, show in Finder. And let's see, I downloaded it earlier, so I'm going to drag it out onto my desktop. And I'm going to replace it. And then we'll unzip it. And then robots. Let's take a look. We've got one moon surface JPEG, and this is a green robot and a red robot, and the files are exactly the same except for color. They're pretty simple. Take a look at them in After Effects. You can also view them in Photoshop. So I'm going to got my render queue. I'm going to reset my layout to standard once this loads up. Window, workspace, reset. Okay. Now in the After Effects overview, it shows you different parts of this layout. I'm going to just do new project and show that screen here. Okay. Welcome screen. Okay. So we've got, it's similar to Premiere. You've got your project window here. Your composition is viewed right over here, and your timeline is down here. You've got different tools over on the right and up on the top. different panels. So we're going to double click there to bring our assets in. So I'm going to double click in the project window, and I'm going to bring in each robot in one at a time because I want to point something out. We'll hit robot, hit open, and we want to bring this in as a composition and retain layer sizes. And we'll hit OK. And you can see that it comes in with layers, and then it comes in as a composition. And this composition is always going to be the one we're going to want to use. We're not going to want to mess with the folder layers. I'll double click again, get the green one, hit OK, and then I'll double click, and we're just going to get the JPEG. And this will come in differently. This will come in as a footage layer, even though it's just a picture, right? It won't come in as a composition. And you can see that's just one layer there. Now, in the PDF, I asked you to just take a look at some of the composition settings. This is how you would create a composition of a certain size and orientation and frame rate. But what we're going to do is we're going to set our composition by the size of the moon JPEG. So we'll hit cancel, and I'll drag this over the create new. Well, it should create a new composition based on that. So it'll make a composition this will be the base of our movie, and it's at quarter resolution right now. Yours will probably be at full, but that will make the hardware process faster, right? If it's at full, it's going to take longer time. The processing speed. So you can see this is the size of our composition. What we're going to do is we're going to animate the robots on top of this moon layer. Okay, so this becomes our moon background, and so that's our main comp. And these, the robot green and robot red, are subcomps that we're going to bring into that main composition. But the advantage of compositions is that they each have their own timeline. So what we'll eventually wind up doing is animating inside that composition when we want to create a wave, and we want to have the robot wave and blink. So we've got our main composition and then these other compositions that we'll bring in. And this cuts down on, or it increases your amount of organization, because you can do animating within these sub-timelines and not have all the layers and all the pieces out on this main timeline. So it keeps things really well organized and into modules that you can then click into and work in, and then bring it into a main comp. And change our composition settings here. Composition settings up in there. Okay, 10. And then robot red, composition settings, 10. Okay, and then we'll bring them back down. And we want to make sure our moon composition is 20. Okay, was changing it in the wrong place. So that's 20. These are 10. Check with the PDF again. PowerPoint. Okay, moon comp, robots came in. Robots were 10. They're down in the main comp. Robots are off the stage, and what we want to do is change their positions in the timeline. So the robot red will be on for the first 10 seconds, and the robot green will only appear the second 10 seconds. So I'm going to go out to After Effects and move this green layer over there. I'm going to move these off each other again, and I can see green again once I get over there. Okay. All right, now we're going to animate the red on the screen. So what we're going to do is unfurl, I think that's the right word, this triangle. It's a little late, you can see. And we're going to create a keyframe. So the first one you create, you need to click the stopwatch. And that sets a keyframe for where that robot is at that point in time. Keyframes have all this information recorded, and when you want something to change, you say, okay, at point A, I want it at this position, and at point B, 5 seconds later, I want it at a different position. So the keyframes hold that information, and they're so important to any sort of animation. The concept of changing over time. Something's got to store that information of what are the properties of the thing. So let's see, at 0 we have that one keyframe set, and then CTI, current time indicator, still at 0. Okay, we did that. Okay, and then the next one, we're going to go to 5 seconds. We're going to click the diamond. We're not going to click the stopwatch. That'll delete the keyframe. So we'll click the diamond over here, and we'll physically drag the robot back onto the stage so you can see them. Okay, so I'm going to go to 5 seconds, just about, and I'm going to drag the robot here. So you can see, actually, all right, I'll click the keyframe now. So, hold on, let me undo. I'm going to click the diamond and then move it. Okay, I'm on the green. All right, at 0, we're going to have our thing, our keyframe there, and then at 5, let's make sure you're on the right layer. We'll drag that. That's what's going on. Okay. So now it's working. So over 5 seconds, the position keyframe information is changing. We can scale this down or scale it up. So maybe at, nope, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, it's not in the PDF. So, okay. So now, let's see what I have you guys do. Should look something like that. Okay. So we're going to move the CTI back in time to 2.5 seconds, and we'll click on the robot here and we'll physically drag it up. This will add a keyframe to the timeline and animate the robot up. All right, I'm going to go to 2.5. I'm going to click the robot and just drag it. You can see how that motion path, it becomes like a leap, right? So it's going up and then landing. So if we take a look at this, make it a little bit larger. It's moving in it's called a linear animation. And when things are organic, they tend to have squash and stretch, or they have easing. When you start out slower, you speed up, and then you start to slow down a little bit before you stop. And there are lots of tools within After Effects to allow you to get that sort of feel. So we're going to grab all these keyframes. just by clicking position, they all turned blue, right? So I'm going to right click on any one of them, go to Keyframe Assistant, and hit and select Easy Ease. And that will give them all an ease. But what we don't need is we don't need this ease in the middle. So let's see. I'm going to zoom out a little bit again. So it slows down there, which is weird, right? So what I have you guys do is you right click on just this one, go to Keyframe Interpolation. Oh wait, hit cancel, sorry. We're selecting all, just the one in the middle. Keyframe Interpolation and change this one back to linear and then hit OK. And now we won't have it slow down in the middle. Eases up and then goes fast and then slows down a little bit before it lands. Whether or not that is accurate physics for the moon, I don't know. But we're going with it. Okay. So we'll learn more about ease as we work more in animation, but it's a really quick way to be able to do that. All right. I'm just looking for something here. Nope, I don't want to stop recording. Okay. So what are we doing now? Now we're going to add a wave in. And what we can do, I was talking about this in the animation lecture, how with like the different characters on Wonder Pets, they had, you know, Ming Ming flying, and you wouldn't have to animate that over and over again. Someone could do it. So say this robot's thing was that it had a wave that it did all the time. So what we could do is create a robot red wave composition and have that be separate from the main robot red comp. So it's just to do this one thing. So I'm going to duplicate this. Just hit Command D, and we'll name it robot red underscore wave. Okay. And now, when we work out on the timeline here, we're animating the whole comp. But if we just want to animate a little part of it, we want to animate this right arm, we're going to dig into a comp and do that animation. So I'm going to double click up here, and you can see all the layers, the PSD layers that are down here for that robot. And we're not doing our main robot, we're just doing a copy of that just to do the wave. Okay. So we did this stuff, we did our easing, we changed just the one keyframe, and we here in this one to show you how to create the comp, the wave comp, and we double click in it, and this is an overview of what we're going to do. We're going to work with the opacity keyframes for the blinks, and we're going to work with the rotation keyframes for the arms because it's going to blink. Anytime you make something blink, it ups its human or its life factor by a lot. And we'll rotate the arm R, which is the right arm. So that's the overview of what we're going to do. But the first thing we need to do is we need to change this anchor point, because when stuff comes in from Photoshop, it thinks, oh, the anchor point is just in the middle. It doesn't know that that's a shoulder that we want to, you know, or an arm that we want to pivot at the shoulder point and not at the elbow point, because that would be weird and it would break off from the body. So the way we can do that is we can double click into the arm and move the anchor point. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to double click. Actually, I'm going to double click up here. Let me zoom in. I'm going to double click there, and then I can move it right over to sort of right about there. And then we'll go back out. And the way we go back out, we're right in the layer here. We're going to go back out to the robot composition. And when you change that anchor point, it moves the arm away from the body. So we would just have to bring it back in. We could maybe scooch it in a little bit more, because when we rotate it, we want to make sure that that shoulder stays hidden. So we need it to be in a little bit. And we can move the other one in if we want to make it feel a little more even in length. Okay, so now this arm is ready to animate. The eyes are ready to go because we've got blinks underneath the eyes. Actually, they're on top, but if I'm going to turn off the eye layer over here, you can see that's a quick way to add a blink when your blink is the same color as your eyes and it's right on top, so you only have to turn the full eyes on and off to make it feel like they're blinking. Okay, so now we're going to animate our arm out in here in this robot wave timeline. Remember, the moon surface is our main comp. So we're going to reveal more information in the arm. And I'm going to scale this back down. And what we're going to work with is right here, the rotation keyframe first. And I have a couple of steps. So we're going to add a keyframe at 0 for the arm to lock in its first position. And that first position, right now that we have it, is sort of straight out, right? And we could change that if we wanted. We could have it starting down, having both arms starting down, but I think in the model I have it starting just like this. And so we'll set a keyframe at 0. And then we're going to go in increments. We're going to rotate 26 degrees down and then back to 0 and 26 degrees up. And we're going to do that at every 1 second. Okay, so the first one we're going to change to minus 26. So I'm going to go to 0. I'm going to first set my rotation keyframe there. We'll go to 1 second and then go to minus 26. Okay. Then I believe I have you go to 2 and go back to 0. Let's see. 2 seconds. Actually, I have it go straight down. And in this one, the arm, in the model, in the PDF, the arm sort of separates a little bit, but it should be good now. So it goes back down over 1 second to 26. So we'll go to 2 seconds, and we'll go to positive 26. And then 3 seconds, go to minus. I've got a double screen here, fixing that as I go. 4 seconds to positive. Okay, so we're just doing a couple of waves. So 3 seconds. Go to minus 26. And 4 seconds. Go to positive 26. Okay. So it's just a quick, sort of actually a slow wave. And then we are going to animate the blink. So let's see what I have you guys do. And I think this composition, we only need 5 seconds. Let me see. Yes, we got to change that. So I'm going to go out to here, robot wave, composition settings, 5 seconds. Okay. And our blink, let's go back to 0. Okay. So at 0, we're going to set the opacity keyframe for the eye layer, and we're going to set it at 100%. That's what it is, but we're going to add a keyframe. There's no keyframe yet. So on eyes, I'm going to hit T, and that will bring up just the opacity keyframes. So at 0, it's 100, and then at 2.5 seconds, we'll click the stopwatch. Actually, I think that's the diamond, and we'll set it to 0. And that will turn off the eye and reveal the blink. And we're going to have to change the keyframe interpolation to hold. Otherwise, they'll just sort of blend on and off. So I'm going to go to 2.5. It's actually around 212 is good because it's frames. And we'll click the diamond, not the stopwatch. Let me fix that now. Diamond. Okay. And at the diamond, we'll set this to 0. And this is going to be, blinks are quick, right? So at 2.5, then at 3.5 or 3, we'll bring it back up because blinks should be pretty quick. But we'll go to around there. And then if we just hit 100, it adds a keyframe on its own. You don't always have to hit the diamond, right? So now let's look what happens. The blinks fade on and off, which isn't typically how we blink. It could be that aliens, their eyelids fade on and off, which would be kind of weird. But robots, as we know them, would probably just open and close. So we're going to change these to hold from linear. So I right-clicked, I selected all 3, right-clicked, keyframe interpolation to hold. And what that does is it just holds the opacity until it changes. So now it's not blending like that. Okay. We don't have to add ease or anything. It's just an on-off sort of thing. I'm going to hit Command S to save my project, which I have not done yet. Robots on Moon. And I'll save it to my desktop. Actually, on my desktop, I'll save it into the robots folder. Which one am I using? Probably doesn't matter. Okay. It does. So I probably use that one. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to bring this robot wave comp out into our main timeline, right where we have the exactly in the position where we have this robot. So at 10 seconds, or maybe we have it start here. You know, right, we could end this one sooner. Let's just keep it at 10. We'll go right to the end of that comp. We'll get right at the timeline where it turns off, and we'll bring robot wave down right into there. And we'll have it start right when that one turns off. Now the position's popping a little bit, right? So we could go to this robot and get the XY position of that. So this is 768 by 588. So we don't want to animate the position, we just want to put it there. So 768 and then 588. So that will be a seamless position now. It's just right on top of it. When this bottom one turns off, this one wave turns on. The arm, that left arm is popping a little bit because we did, remember we positioned this one a little bit, we scooched it in, but everything else is sort of matching up. And if we wanted to, we could go into robot red. Let's do it. And move arm left in a little bit. 1, 2, 3, I don't know. We did something like that. We'll go back out to moon. Still a little pop. We'll go in one more. And now robot red is open right here. Arm left. One more pixel. Back out into moon surface. Maybe I went too far. Okay. But anyway, the point is here is that we've got a standing robot, and now we've got a waving robot and a blinking robot. And we could have this comp, we could bring it in because it's going to sort of loop because we have it for 5 seconds, right? So we'll bring it down and put it right at the end. And again, we'll change the position coordinates to be 788, 588. It goes from 1, hold on. Oh, 768, 588. 768. So the wave's a little wonky. There's a little bit of a pause there, but we could adjust that in the looping. And there's other ways we would loop animations. But I want you to get this idea of compositions down, right? That you work in a small modular way and then you bring into the main comp. Right, so all your heavy lifting is done in these smaller compositions and you just bring them into here. That way it keeps the layer mounts down. You do not want to bring in all the pieces of a character into your main timeline and animate them there. You want to animate them in their individual compositions. Okay, so green robot is somewhere still off the stage, right? So what I want you guys to do is to animate that character in at, let's see, maybe right around here he joins the stage. Right, we've got him off there, so I'll just get you going. Where position, we'd add a keyframe off the stage. Let's zoom out so we can see him. Where is that robot? Did we lose him? Oh, duh. Can't see see him. There he is. Okay. You have to be over the live time, like live area to be able to see him. Okay. So we added a keyframe, and that can be anywhere, right? And we know that we want it to move in over a second or so. So maybe I'd add another keyframe here and drag Greenie onto the stage. And then maybe here I'd have him loop up, jump up. And you could animate the scale, right? You could start out where the scale is 50% or 30, really way in the background. And then when you get back to around here, it reaches 100. So it feels like it's coming in from the back, jumping in. You could do a wave, a blink on that guy. You could do whatever you want. But I want to have them both alive. So try and add a blink to green and some sort of movement, body movement as well. Maybe it could tilt its head. It could bring its arm down. It could do a little dance. You could do whatever you want with it. But remember that you would work in the Robot Green comp. You would double click and do that animation on its timeline. And it could be, it's 10 seconds, but wherever this timeline is out on here, it would correspond to that. So 1 second would start here for it. Okay, so I'm gonna try and edit this video so it's not quite so long. I apologize, but I hope this filled in any gaps. You can work from the PDF. It's pretty detailed, but this is to, as I said, to fill in any gaps and to explain it a little bit more. And this will help you guys get rolling in your projects. And so as you're doing this, start visualizing, you know, what are your log lines? What are your stories? What are your characters that you want to build? How do you want to have them move? Do you want any acting going on, or do you want it just to be sort of more symbolic or abstract? There's lots of different things that are available. Other students have done things like text bubbles, right, instead of doing talking or things like that. So lots of leeway in terms of what you guys want to do. Okay, thank you very much. See you in class soon.